Hey, sorry,
Uh,
I think one of us lost connection. I'm not sure what happened there.
yeah, I just said that the live video ended for me.
Yeah, sorry about that then.
No
Okay,
problem.
so continuing on to the next question I have for you. So, what does a stable democracy look like to you? Like, what would the ideal be?
Yeah. So for me, a stable democracy is something that everyone has a say in, and everyone's representing, no matter who they are, what they look like, where they come from, anything like that, right? So, like you were saying, mail-in ballots, disproportionately affect people. Those people will have an equal say, no matter who they are. You know, just a big part of democracy is everyone is having their voice. So I think until everyone's voice is really represented, we won't really have a stable or even a good democracy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. There's like a lot of people's voices being suppressed, and also like a lot of young people are like discouraged from voting or like told that they're like too young to have certain opinions. And when people argue, like for example, the voting age should be decreased, people argue against it, saying like, "Oh, young people, they don't know any better." Like, but they may be more informed than people who are like of age to vote. Which is why it's like really great that you're like doing this and you're like spreading awareness and you're like, you're getting started as an activist because it's really important for young people to be involved. Um, so like speaking of your activism, how has like Civics Unplugged help like led to personal growth or your general growth as an activist?
Definitely. So before Civics Unplugged, all the activism I did was mainly local,
Mm-hmm.
or not really activism, more of like charity and foundational work. Now that I've been through Civics Unplugged and I've gotten more involved, things have definitely changed from just trying to do little changes here and there to really making a big change in our democracy and realizing how to do that. Like I've been for Civics Unplugged in a lot of the protests and a lot of the riots that have been happening.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to, go through seeing what a stable democracy will look like, or what ideal democracy will look like for everyone, and then going able to transfer that into actually something that means something and something that will has definitely been a bigger help.
Yeah. So how was that like for you going to the protests in Florida, right?
Right, right. So I went to my local one here in Riverview.
Mm-hmm.
There right down from me. So I mean, when it happened, it was one of the probably peacefulest protests that we've had. The cops blocked off the whole streets for us, so no cars were able to get through any of the main streets. So that was definitely cool. It was definitely peaceful. Like people were playing music and stuff, but it was definitely still something that was powerful, and we definitely showed that yes, you can get across, but it doesn't have to be a physical fight, you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's also a lot of teenagers out there, which made us happy to see that people our age were trying to make a change.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about the demographics. Like, there were like a lot of people like your age, like my age, you know. There were.
Definitely, there was definitely a lot of that me and my brother knew or that we've known.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there are also definitely a lot of like middle-aged people that it's affecting as well. So the age-wise, I mean, we saw 6-year-olds up to probably citizens. Now
Mm-hmm.
we're going probably later to the protest ended up from being about 5 p.m. to late at, and the whole time just stayed people. So that was definitely great to see that my city, my area was able to do something like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that you like through Unplugged or like through like starting activism, do you think that you've like become more confident in like your ability to talk to, people in power about like your opinions and you feel more because I know that like before I was like part of youth activism project, I was very, very like quiet and I was just very like I guess shy and I was scared to like voice my opinion and I guess I don't know because I was like so used to people saying like, oh, young people like they'll have their opinions, but they don't really matter. But that just like gave me like a lot of confidence. So like I was just wondering, has that affected you like in the same way?
So me personally, Civics Unplugged has definitely helped, as in it's gotten me, not as more as politicians because I've been like running as politicians based for other stuff
Mm-hmm.
than the school, but definitely more like celebrities and people that you wouldn't really expect democracy oriented,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like for our commence event, we've written 50, 60, multiple like up there invites to come speak at us, and I was involved in a lot. And even now with our 2030 champion, kind of the same process. So being able to, have the confidence of writing to celebrities like LeBron James, Maya Moore, Dwayne Johnson, and having even possibility of saying yes has definitely been throughout Civics Unplugged. Not as a fan anymore, but as someone that sees what they're doing like off their profession,
Mm-hmm.
and to be recognized for that.
Yeah. Do you, for the commencement ceremony, you guys like offered certain like activists in the country, right?
Yeah, activists that are Gen Z, so they have to be at least 13 years old and then 23 or younger, between that 10-year mark. And we had hundreds of applicants apply. I was on that. Only 18 ended up getting selected to be nominated. So the first round was just nomination, seeing what the project was. A second round was more of, what was your project? Explain it to get like just feel like we've been a part of it. And then third round was a Zoom call interview where they were all questions based on what you plan to do in the future. What would you do with, because all the got $1,000 question. So it was, what would you do with the money? How would you, involve Gen Z in your project? And out of all the hundred or so people that applied or wanted to get nominated, I think only 15 or 20 ended up getting honored.
Do you remember like any of their campaigns or what they did to
Definitely.
get picked?
So, Julia Turpak, she was my fellow shorts honoree. So each of the 4 fellows on the selection committee chose their favorite person to be interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
Mine. So she has Gen Z. Well, now it's Gen Z's next. It's an Instagram and TikTok account that pretty much just gets Gen Z informed on different issues, but gets them informed in like a cool way, right? So she'll do TikTok dance while having different like parts of information, so that it's definitely getting kids involved. Trying to think some others. Victor has a project. I forgot where it's at, but another organization that's getting Gen Z involved in his. I know someone off in California, I forgot her name, is doing a climate change activism project. So not only does she do like activism, she also gets people to help clean up the environment in her area. So those are some of the cool projects I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. They're really interesting. Also, like the one you said about someone using TikTok, I think that's a really good idea. I've seen a lot of those accounts on TikTok, like people like spreading like information, just things about like you said, like history, like history that we don't really hear about. I've heard a lot from TikTok, like a few more than I've learned in school.
Yeah.
So yeah. So like you're part of the steering committee now. So what do you guys exactly do? Do you guys have any like immediate plans? Are you gonna start the 2030 campaign? Like, do you guys have any first ideas and like what you're gonna do?
Definitely. So we pretty much do anything that Civics Unplugged needs or has planned. We're involved in the champion selection committee, so we're pretty much inviting celebrities to be ambassadors. We approve of pretty much anyone that's coming into the community. Championing, heading the Civics 2030 campaign is definitely a big. We've come up with a couple ideas. Literally the same day we got announced, we were in our chat saying, "Hey, it would be cool if we could do this. Hey, let's do this next year." So really, a lot of it, it's only been 2 or 3 weeks since we've been on the steering committee. It's just figuring out where to go next.
Mm-hmm.
And then after this, we'll actually start, moving forward into that committee. We'll be serving for a year, so we'll be the same 5 fellows for a year. And then next year on July 3rd, during next fellowships launch week, they'll get to select their own 3. Or, we can be the same, serve up to 2.
Mm-hmm. Are there any, like, just out of curiosity, are there any, like, projects that you're individually working on, like, maybe outside of Civics Unplugged, like, any other organizations or, like, clubs that you're part of?
Definitely. So, activism related is basically when we all vote. I recently became a student ambassador with them. So, pretty much our job as student ambassadors is to make sure that every high school in our county has a team that in their specific high schools they get anyone that's eligible to register or pre-register to vote, register, pre-registered. So that's definitely cool. Outside of activism, I have 3 foundations. My first one I created in 8th grade. It's the Knowledge Over Poverty, which gets books to different like underprivileged kids or kids that just can't readily go to the library. And then we also fill goodie bags with them. My second one was created as a high school freshman. Um, sorry, it's hashtag food for one of the pageants I'm a part of. Their whole thing is ending childhood hunger. So being a part of that, I made my own organization, which is just getting food to kids who don't have it or need it. And then my third one was created this recent year. It's called Student Athletes for Change. So as I mentioned, I play 3 sports, and a lot of us want to get back to our communities. And then in high school, not in high school, in Florida, we have Bright Futures, which different levels pay for different amounts of college hours. So this is just an easy way to get athletes in like whatever area connected with projects in their area to get those community hours and give back to the communities that built them.
Oh, that's great. So you've been working on this stuff since, like, 8th grade?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's really great. So, like, since you have experience, I'm gonna ask you one last question. Do you have any, like, advice for any activists, like, across the country? Like, what would you give them? Like, people maybe, like, kind of find, like, activism daunting, or, like, they might be scared to, like, start or don't know where to start. What advice would you give them?
So my first thing is just get started, right? As I mentioned with Civics Unplugged, I had no idea what they were at first. It was kind of just, like a leap of faith. As with everything I've done, I just went leap of faith, like starting young as in 8th grade. Yeah, family, I had my parents, but besides that, it was just, well, let's see how this goes.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, I commit. If it does, then I'm gonna make a change. So get started. The second thing is things will get hard. Things will get very hard. There will be times where you feel discouraged, where you think, is this really for me? So my view is when you feel that way, or even before you feel that way, write down why you started. I do that with my basketball shoes. I have 3 reasons why I play. And whenever things get hard, I look down my shoes and I'm like, this is why I keep on. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing it for. So that definitely helps. My last thing, have fun with it. Yes, it's definitely something serious. It's definitely something that especially with me, you'll have people's lives in your hands. But have fun. If it ever comes to a point where you consistently see that it's not getting fun, stop. But then it's not something fun anymore. It's like a chore. And when things start becoming chores, as all teenagers know, you won't want to do it anymore, and you won't do it well anymore. At that point, it's kind of just pointless.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much. That's great advice. Those are great tips. And thank you so much for talking to me and, like, sharing your story and, like, what you guys have been doing. It's really great to hear. So, do you have any, like, last comments or, like, any questions you want to ask or anything to plug?
um, Go hit Civics Unplugged up on the website. Literally type civicsunplugged.com. It'll come up. You can learn everything about us. Go follow the Instagram. I think the first part of the interview was on their Instagram. This second part is on mine. So sorry about that. But yeah, just get involved in your community somehow, some way. It can be small, it can be big, but make a change. And once you get started, it's pretty hard to stop.
Yeah. Thank you so much for talking to me. One last thing I want to mention for everyone watching, everyone who will watch the recording, the Youth Activism Project is partnering with Youth Creating Change to run a training series on activism, and they're building a student-led on activism and building student-led movements. So if you're interested, the link is going to be in our bio. It'll be like a training program. It'll be really helpful and great for anyone who wants to like start getting involved in activism, like, you know, improve their like techniques, like public speaking or like organizing, things like that. So we'll be back next Thursday with another live. Thank you so much for talking.
Thank you.
Bye.